It was almost like a relief to get my story out, but also terrifying at the same time. And what came back at me was probably for me even more terrifying than my career being ended. It was the fact that I was believed.
Welcome to How to Fail, the podcast that believes that most failures can teach us something meaningful. When Melanie Brown was 18, her mum showed her an advert from the Stage newspaper asking for streetwise, outgoing, ambitious, dedicated girls to audition for an all-female pop act. She answered the advert, and the rest is history. The Spice Girls became the best-selling female pop group of all time, shifting over 100 million records worldwide and launching the girl power movement. Mel B, or Scary Spice as she became known, went on to forge a solo career and then established herself as a TV personality and talent show judge. She came second in Dancing with the Stars in 2007, judged the UK X Factor, and has just announced her return to America's Got Talent. But it's her personal life that over recent years has made headlines. In her 2018 memoir, Brutally Honest, recently re-released with extra chapters, she revealed her second marriage had been emotionally and physically abusive. Her bravery in speaking openly about the 10 years of coercive control she experienced has been a revelation for many other survivors and has done much to raise public awareness of the issue. She is now a patron of the domestic violence charity Women's Aid and has been awarded an MBE for her work. Silence and secrecy just add to our burdens, Brown writes. It's hard when you are proud, when you are frightened, when there are expectations on you to not rock the boat, but we need to be able to say, I'm in trouble, I need help. Melanie Brown, welcome to How to Fail.
God, I don't know. I haven't got any words now. I was like, wow. She's talking about me? Yes, she is.
That's you. And what an
Gosh.
incredible person you are. I'm grateful to you for so many reasons. I'm grateful to you for being a Spice Girl and for introducing the teenage me to girl power. I'm grateful to you for writing this astonishing memoir. I can't even imagine the courage it took. And I have not experienced the depths of what you lived through, but I do have experience of coercive control. Yeah. And I know how difficult it is to put words to it.
Yeah. And even the word coercive control, it was so hard for me to wrap my head around what does that mean. For a start, I'm a bit dyslexic, so I was like, I can't even read that properly. But then when I found out it became the law in 2015, and you can actually, you know, file a complaint against your abuser, and hopefully it will see the light of day. I was like, right, we are moving in the right direction. But that was 2015, and I was still in my then 10-year very abusive marriage, which when I talk about it, I didn't realise there was such an epidemic going on. I thought bringing this book out in 2018 was going to end my career because for a start, nobody wanted to publish it because the topic was too down and dirty and gritty and taboo-ish. And I actually wanted to pull it before it even got released. And it was only because my daughter, who was then 19, and Louisa will help me write the book. We're like, well, just think about it. If you're going to be talking about this, maybe you can help somebody else. So by releasing this book, you could be helping a lot of other people. And I was like, right, if it's for other people, yes, but that book was for me because I didn't understand what had gone on in those 10 years. I knew it wasn't right. I knew it left me fried, as in I was living on flight or fight. I knew because of the obvious bruises. And then when I left, I was financially abused. So there was a lot that happened. And the reason why I've re-released it with 3 new extra chapters, because in between 2018 and 2024, a lot has happened. A lot. I've literally had to start from 0 up. You know, everybody thinks when you leave an abusive relationship, well done for getting out for a start, because not all of us survive it. You don't realise then you have to start a new journey, which is putting you as a person and your life and your kids and amending relationships with people that have been isolated from you. You have to work on that. And that's not easy. It's not easy staying in an abusive relationship, clearly, but it's also not easy coming out of it. And I wanted to be able to show survivors like me that you can do it, and it is going to be up and down, but this is the warning signs, and hopefully a bit of a guide on how to deal with it, because you are left traumatized. And I'm a Spice Girl, and I shout about girl power, yet I was in 2019 girl powerless, 2018 girl powerless, thinking, where have the last 10 years gone? Why has this person got so much control? I can't even leave if I want to leave. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster.
One of the things that I saw on your Instagram recently is that you have been able to buy a house.
I
And that
know.
has been something because you left that marriage with $936 in your bank account, I think
Yeah.
your book said.
With nothing.
With nothing.
No
And
house,
you have
no properties, no cars, no furniture, no credit card, no nothing. So I had to move back into my mum's house. She's got a little bungalow in Leeds. So I was doing Wembley Stadium with the Spice Girls in 2019, performing in front of thousands of people in my element, back with my girls, and then going home to Leeds in my mum's spare bedroom with my kids and my dog, going, this is my life. And I love it now because I know what I'm coming home to, my mum and my dogs, and it's not my house, and I'm going to have to start from scratch. Where do I start? You know, because I doubted myself. I had no confidence. Luckily, the Spice Girls tour came around at the perfect time. But what led me to that place was, unfortunately, if it wasn't for my dad dying, I don't know if I would have left that marriage, because I didn't have the strength to do it. I tried to do it 6 or 7 times within those 10 years, but I always got pulled back, whether it be through blackmail or the fact that I can't leave without my kids. So I did try. And it wasn't until my dad died on his deathbed, him taking his last breaths, did I promise my dad in Leeds, because he died in Leeds. I said, when I get back to LA, I'm going to leave that abuser. And he took his last breath. So I was like, well, I don't even know if I would have had the strength to do it myself. My dad gave me that strength. And now I'm giving myself strength through speaking to other survivors, from being involved in Women's Aid, being patron, and being able to educate not just myself, but kids about what the warning signs look like. And I get to speak in Parliament, and it's something that is, you know, every time I do talk about it, it does still take me back there. But I think, well, you have to talk about it because it's an epidemic that's going nowhere. Still, one woman a week gets killed by their partner in this country. It's worse in America. So it's not going anywhere unless we not just talk about it, but we do something about it. We rebuild the justice system to be more supportive. For people in my situation, whether you're a man, woman, if you've come from that abuse, or even just to know that you are being abused, because I didn't know how badly abused I had been. Obviously, there's the physical side of it, but the emotional side and the trauma. And thank God in this country we have statute of limitations, so there's no time frame on when you can report that. In the States, you have 3 years.
Wow.
And if you're not ready to report it in 3 years, that time is gone.
Because that's one of the things that really strikes me as so courageous. Writing this book, were you scared about putting that out there and your ex reading it and being in touch?
Well, he's in touch anyway, because an abuser on some levels don't stop, and especially when you have a child with them, which I do. I wasn't scared for me necessarily. I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to provide for my family anymore, because I'm very morally correct and I want to speak out if something doesn't feel right. And because I was lying for 10 years. I was lying to my co-workers. I was lying to the Spice Girls. I was lying to Simon Cowell, because my work was my savior, because that was the one place where he couldn't get me. But when I went home, it was a different story. Yet I was so ashamed, and I felt riddled with guilt that how can I? Nobody's going to believe me. I haven't been to the doctors because I'm too scared to even tell the doctor, because I can cover the bruises, I can cover it up with makeup, and you know, I'm girl power. I can't let the side down. But you know, it was almost like a relief to get my story out, but also terrifying at the same time. And what came back at me was probably for me even more terrifying than my career being ended. It was the fact that I was believed.
Yes.
And that was then, right, so it's true then. I know I have been abused. It's such a psychological thing.
How interesting.
And then when I went to my first refuge in Leeds as patron of Women's Aid, I sat with these women and I just felt so at home, because I don't know if you know much about abuse, but basically abusers do the same thing at the same time, no matter who they're abusing. They come in like Mr. Wonderful or Mrs. Wonderful, and you can't believe your eyes that this person is just everything and more that you've ever wished for. You are just in shock and you are love bombed. You are just crazy head over heels. And, you know, I was saying the other day, it's not like you wake up and go, oh, I think I'm going to date an abuser. No, but what an abuser does is they come and find you. So they make sure that you are going to date them. And I just had Angel. So I was very vulnerable.
Yeah, and Angel is your daughter with Eddie Murphy, who you describe in Brutally Honest as the love of your life. And I think you do such a beautiful job of explaining that.
Well, me
affair.
and Eddie went through a beautiful love affair, but then Angel was born and there was things that was said on his part and my part. It became a media frenzy. And I was adamant, listen, you have denied that you're the father. I mean, it goes on and on and on, but basically Angel was made with love. And Eddie is very much part of Angel's life, and that is happy in that respect.
You said in an interview in 2023 that you wouldn't call the police. Is that still the case?
No, because I'm now working alongside the Met Police, actually. And they have fully taken it on board that when they get called out to a domestic violence situation, that they're now going to have themselves educated. Because if you turn up, I mean, the police have said this, they turn up at a domestic violence situation, and sometimes the abuser's so skilled that the abuser ends up not being the one that gets taken away in handcuffs. And because the survivor is so embarrassed and so worried about what's going to happen when that door slams, that she or he will do anything just to make it go away when the initial thought is, this person's going to kill me.
Horrendous. And we will talk more about it. Before we get on to your failures, I hope you'll indulge me by answering a couple of questions about Spice Girls.
Of course I will. It's my favourite topic.
Thank you, because I was telling you before we started recording that you're my third Spice Girl. My ambition is to get all 5 of you. So if you could put in a good word.
So who do you have left?
I've got Victoria and Emma. And I did actually sit next to Victoria at lunch, and she said she'd come on the podcast.
Well, then you have to hold her to it. When I see her next, I'll tell her.
Can you?
I will. And I'll tell you, it's very decadent in here, so she'll love it.
Yes, thank you. Loved her. Love you all. But you were so formative for so many women like me. And it's so weird now to think of you as women, but you've all aged in this really extraordinary, powerful. You haven't aged a jot, to look at.
But I still wear the same thing.
For anyone listening to this podcast rather than watching on YouTube, you are wearing amazing silver boots and like this fake
really
fur jacket.
Yeah.
So do you think that the 5 of you have changed fundamentally as characters as you've grown older, or do you think you're still the same?
I think we're still the same. And I just want to be clear, when those names got given to us, it was by, I think it was a lazy journalist from some teeny bopper magazine, and he couldn't be bothered to remember our full names. Yeah. So he was like, well, that one looks a bit scary because she's already snatched my notes off her, and she's got and I've got all this crazy hair, and I've always been, I've got leopard print nails, if you're watching, yeah. So he just named us off the rack like that, and we were all like, oh God, I quite like my name. Yeah, well, I like my name. Well, I wear pink. I'm Baby Spice, yeah. And it's funny because to this day, Emma loves pink, and if she can have her way, she'd put her hair in ponytails. Mel C will never get out of a tracksuit, and she always has her hair in a ponytail. Victoria's very sleek and elegant. Jerry, she's gone through a bit of a change, but she's still that vivacious Union Jack girl underneath her being the lady of the manor, let me tell you. So we're all exactly the same. What you see is what you get, which is lovely, considering we started when we were 17, 18, 19, and we're now 48, 49, 50.
How do you feel about Scary Spice now, though? Because I feel like you wouldn't be called that now because...
Well, I think now we're a bit too politically correct. I've calmed down in these last few years. Before, if you was to interview me, I'd be like, show me your questions. I'd be the protector of the group that comes in there and go, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Because I am quite a protector and quite nurturing. And that can be seen as maybe being a bit too northern, or maybe being a bit too feisty or scary. So that name was given, and I love it. Just for the plain fact that I'm a bit scary and I've got larger than large hair, larger than life.
Yeah.
And that's just me. But I think in these days, well, in this day and age, somebody would have taken offence by that, but I don't take offence by it. I think there's a bit of scary in any of us, whether you're black, white, mixed, Puerto Rican, Chinese. There's a bit of scary in all of us.
Love that. Let's get on to your first failure, because it's sort of linked to what we've just been discussing, which is a failed audition for being a Von Trapp child in a production of The Sound of Music. Melanie.
Yeah, I remember this very, very well. I got raised in a household. My dad's black, from the West Indies, from Nevis. My mum's white, born and raised up north in Leeds. So they're a mixed couple, which back in those days, there was a lot of stigma attached to that. There was a lot of NF, National Fronts. For example, my mum used to have to hand me to my dad on the bus so that he wouldn't get beaten up for being black and black with a white woman. So I got brought up with a very even outlook. I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm mixed. And I loved that, because I had friends before at school that were mixed, and I couldn't understand why they just call themselves black or just call themselves just white. I'd be like, yeah, but you're mixed. That's your mum and your dad. You've got the best of both worlds.
Just quickly, what do you think of the term biracial?
I don't get it.
Okay.
I don't get it, and I don't appreciate it.
I love it.
don't.
Great. Good to know.
Yeah.
Because some people hate being called mixed.
It used to really annoy me that when I used to fill out the passport form, it would be black, white or other. Now it's black, white, mixed with this, mixed with that, this and that. And I think, no, I'm just mixed. And I'm proud of that. So my mother got me into dance class. It was like 10p for me to go for an hour. I think it was like 3 times a week. So, and because I had lots of energy, my mum was like, oh God, give me a break. She'd come home from school. She'd done her homework. I'll put her in dance class down the street. So I became obsessed with just performing. And so there was an audition that a few of my friends were going to, and it was for the Von Trapp family. And my mum, in a very, very mum way, tried to explain, you're not going to get it because you're not white with blonde hair and blue eyes. Not that she said that. And I blocked that out anyway. I was like, no, it's an audition, because once they see me, they're gonna want me to be part of the stage performance. Finally, she got in the car and drove me, and still on the journey there, she's like, Melanie, are you sure you want to do this? Because, and I was like, I am adamant. I am going to go to that audition. I'm going to nail it, and I'm going to get the job. Anyway, I didn't get the job because it was far easier back in those days to say, oh, you're to this, you're to that. Now we can't be as direct, and rightly so. But that just goes to show that even though I knew it deep down, I didn't care. I still wanted to make sure that I went there so they could see me perform regardless of my colour.
So many things strike me about this story. One is your incredible work ethic, and that's something that I feel like you've always had.
Yeah, my mum and dad had that.
You will just prove yourself.
Yeah.
Again and again and again.
Yeah.
Where do you think that work ethic came from for your mum and your dad? Different places, I imagine.
Well, my dad came to England, I think, when he was he 9? So he got brought to England because his grandmother looked after him in Nevis, and that was quite common back in those days. So when he came over, he didn't really know his parents, didn't really fit in school. So he learnt a trade. So he learned how to weld copper, because back in those days, if you learn a trade, you're set for life, really. You'll always have a job. So I was raised with my dad doing 1 week of morning shifts, 1 week of afternoon shifts, 1 week of night shifts. And it was a routine. And my dad never missed a day, no matter hail, rain or snow. And he used to ride his bike to work. My mum took on an extra job because of the 10p a week dance classes and stuff like that, and costumes that she would hand make. So I've always known, if you've got to rely on yourself. You can't rely on anybody else. You've got to make your own money.
The other thing that strikes me about it is that you do not complain.
No.
You get on with it, and you don't moan.
No.
Which is many things. It's quite northern, just to generalise horribly.
I think it is quite northern.
It's quite showbiz, like the show must go on.
I don't know. There's some celebrities that moan about everything.
Yes, you're not one of them. I mean, it's 2 schools.
Today I'm not.
Yeah. Who are they? Name them.
No, I can't. Jerry Halliwell. No, I'm joking.
But there are moments in Brutally Honest where you do talk about the fact that the National Front was a presence, that you got called horrible names at school.
Yeah.
You did get bullied, but what was your response?
Well, my mum and dad used to say, for a start, fight your own battles, even though you've been chased all the way from school to the house, which was, God, about a good 25-minute run. Because back then they didn't know what to call me. Did they call me half-breed? Did they call me packy? Did they call me the N-word?
Wow.
And I'd be like, I'm mixed. And then I'd run away because they was trying to get me. But I fought my own battles. And then I would either outrun them or I'd stand up for myself. And I always, because my parents installed that, as long as you don't throw the first punch, you stick up for yourself. And if it's morally incorrect, you make sure that everybody knows about it.
So when you got rejected for the Von Trapp family,
I just went, whatever, it's their loss. But I was inside, I was crushed. But I went to a lot of auditions and I'm thankful for that time, because literally at an audition back in those days, you'd get told, no, too thin, too fat, too dark, too light. It would be that brutal. So you'd go, oh, okay then. Well, I'm not going to have an eating disorder because I like my booty. I'm just going to go to another audition.
Good for you. So that rejection, those rejections taught you a lot about resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's you. If you ask anybody from back in those days when they were auditioning, they would all have like rhino skin, hard skin. You just got to. And I think as well, it is a northern thing. You just pick yourself up and you just keep going.
Were the other Spice Girls like that? Had they
Mel
had similar?
C, Mel C, very much. I think we all were in our own individual ways, because we were like the rejects out of all of our different groups of friends. So coming together, you know, that's why we were so strong and we felt such a connection, because we were all not hard done by, but we didn't really fit in anywhere. But yet we fitted together, even though we were all completely different looking and from completely different backgrounds, really. But I mean, when I think about it, Jerry's mum, I mean, she was a cleaner. Her dad was a car salesman. Victoria's slightly different because she got driven to school in a Rolls Royce, but she still had to work hard. You know, Mel C, single parent, got brought up in Liverpool. So we've all had our, like, not perfect family lives, if you want to call it that.
And you became your chosen family in a way
Oh,
for each
100%.
other.
Yeah. And we went through something so special that only the five of us really can know what that feels like. Because to have such a whirlwind and have so many doors closed, like in our face, girl band's not going to work. We're like, well, why not? Well, surrounded by boy bands, right? We get it. But why isn't this going to work? So we're going to knock on another door and another door and another door until we find somebody that believed in us.
You know, there are so many incredible Spice Girls tracks, but my personal favourite is Holler, which I think is quite underrated. I loved it.
How we used to write is we'd all come in with some kind of a topic or a theme, and then we'd go, oh yeah, that sounds good, we'll go on that theme. But it was always driven by one of our situations, or the fact that, you know, we didn't want to be picked on anymore. So we have to make sure it's clear that we are girls supporting girls, and not where it goes too much into the fantasy world. It's genuinely us five, because we really like each other.
Yes. That's so great. And you're also so good about putting out into the universe the fact that you want a Spice Girls reunion.
I always say it, and it will.
Okay, good. It will.
It will.
We're
No, we are
both
actually in talks, all five of us, but I can't say what for, because I already get told off for saying that. But
Okay.
Too late, I've said it.
Do you have a Spice Girls WhatsApp group?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Well, there was one that was just the three of us, and it was just the four of us, and now it's the five of us.
Oh, you're back together. That's so great.
Yeah, when one leaves, it's like, what's gone on?
Yeah. What, does sometimes someone just leave the group and they don't say anything?
More often than not, it's me, because I'm getting told off. Why have you said that I'm going to do your wedding dress? Because you are, Victoria. And then so I'll just think, bugger, I'm just going to leave, let them all calm down for a minute. And then I'll rejoin and go, sorry, but not really.
That's amazing.
So we're just childish with each other.
It will just say like
really
Mel B
childish.
left the group.
Yeah.
So going back to your childhood, now that idea of resilience and work served you very well in certain respects. You left home at 16 and you became a dancer in Blackpool, but it wasn't without...
But my mum was the one that encouraged me to do that, because I think my mum knew that I just loved it so much. And I think she wanted to make sure that I found something that not only was I good at, but I enjoyed. And then my dad would use it against me. So if I didn't do well in my grades, then I wouldn't be able to go to dance class that week. So it worked. It worked for everyone.
But your dad, as much as you love him still, and as much as he's this like extraordinary spiritual presence in your life now, there were some difficult times.
Yeah, my dad is ridiculously strict. And because we were living with not very much money, this is how strict my dad was, but it's actually funny when I think about it now. Like sports day would be coming up. My dad took it that seriously. He'd train me. He'd go, right, you're going to run around this track. And I'm glad that he pushed me. I mean, nowadays it would be called, oh, you've got a really pushy parent. But my dad taught me resilience and taught me strength, and that if you believe in yourself, you can do it. And as stupid as, winning the sports day 500 meters is like, yes. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, because it gives you a sense of worth as well.
And as well, it's what people wouldn't, it's because I was this little like stickly thing, but I was a powerhouse because I knew not only would it make my dad happy, I just loved that feeling of failing, but then winning. Maybe I didn't win that race, but I'm going to win the other race.
All failure is data acquisition, I always think. Like every mistake, every loss, you can learn something from it.
Well, the funny thing is that when you should say that, so I was having a bit of a tiff with Phoenix, who's 24, and she said something along the lines of, well, you can't talk. And she was being quite rude. She was like, 3 different marriages by 3 different baby daddies. And I went, at least I never gave up. Never gave up the belief in love.
Yes.
Having gone, well, yeah, that's right. But you know what? I've got something better. At least I never gave up in love. Yeah. And I never did. I never did.
Unquenchable spirit.
Yeah.
And you're engaged now to Rory, who sounds wonderful and calm and supportive and kind. And was a friend for many years.
Well, my cousin's best friend. So he was already part of my family, which meant there was already that foundation of trust and safety, which when you leave an abusive relationship, you don't trust anyone. You don't even trust yourself. You don't even trust your own opinions. That can take years to build back up.
I'm so happy for you, Melanie.
Me
you
too.
Really deserve
I think Rory's like relieved. He's like, finally, she said yes after all these years of me going, I'm here.
I wanted to talk about your relationship with your dad, Martin, because it leads us on to your second failure in a way. And your second failure is your first marriage.
Yes.
And the fact that it was so important to you to try and make it work.
Yeah.
Why was it that important?
Well, number one, I was brought up in an era where you don't get divorced. So if you marry for life. And no matter what happens, you work through it, but you do not get divorced. And also living in Leeds, seeing all my friends that marry their childhood sweetheart and then live in the same back-to-back house on the same street as their mum and dad, and they're still together for years no matter what. So that to me, it is unbreakable. You can't then go back and go, well, it just didn't work. To my dad, that was like, well, you make it work. And I remember when my dad walked me down the aisle to... This is Phoenix's dad I'm talking about. So this is like 24 years ago.
How old were you?
I was... I'm 48 now. What's 48?
24. You were 24.
I was 24.
Yeah.
Oh my God, same age. Phoenix better not be getting married anytime soon.
I'm sure she'd tell you.
I'll go, well, that's what happened to me. See? As the church door was opening, I was like, Dad, you meant to say to me, you don't have to go through with this. And he looked at me and he said, it's too bloody late now. Everybody's waiting. We're going. Because I'd already made up my mind. But I was so young and so naive. And I'd come from a spice bubble.
Yeah.
The first person I married was my backing dancer. Before Britney Spears, before J-Lo did it, I did it. Because I thought, well, he must love me. He's my backup dancer that looks similar to me.
Yes.
And I didn't realise that I was really naive and I was highly embarrassed to have it not work, but I stuck at it. And it got to a point where I couldn't be in it any longer. I could not.
What do you think your early relationship with your dad taught you subconsciously about your relationship with men romantically?
God, that is complex. You see, my dad was a very sergeant major, strong figure, but yet he would do all the shopping and all the cooking. So imagine when I'm a teenager, I'm just starting my period and my sister who's 5 years younger than me, I'm trying to sneak in the pads or whatever into the shopping basket. And my sister's like, Dad, Melanie's put them in the basket. I want some of those. And I was like, oh my God. So my dad was very, in somewhat soft and relatable, but you don't break down, you don't cry, you just get on with it, and it'll make you a stronger, better person. Whereas my mum was emotional but very quiet and very shy. Like, you could push in front of my mum in a queue and she wouldn't say anything. Whereas I'd be like, excuse me, there's somebody in front of you and you need to back off. I wouldn't be aggressive, but I'd be like, no, that is wrong. My dad taught me all about the morally correct stuff. There's no grey. It's either this way or that way. There's no in between. And yeah, I was the one that was the in between of the black and white in a weird
Yes.
way. Everywhere.
As a teenager, your relationship became a little bit more distant.
Yeah.
Because he struggled to understand you, I think.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just that. I think because I was developing into this very vivacious, loud, opinionated, very over the top, hyperactive woman. He was like, my God. I don't think he knew how to not even rein it in. He just didn't know how to handle it. And my dad, don't forget, has come from a very, you respect your elders, you don't speak back. His grandmother raised him, my great grandmother, who died when she was 107. I don't think I want to live for that long, but she's a very strong woman.
Yeah.
So he was surrounded by strong women. We don't complain, we get on with it. And if I say something, then that's the way it is. Where I would be like, well, why? And why is that? And why can't I do that? I wanted a reason, and I wanted to understand everything in to the last detail. I think that I know it drove my mum and dad crazy. And then when they had my sister and she was all calm and quiet and collective, they were like, first of all, they thought there was something a bit off with me because I was always into everything. And then my sister came along. They were like, is this the normal child? Because she's really quiet and she happily plays by herself, whereas I was a handful.
Did that make you feel that you didn't belong in your own family?
On some levels. And now when I read about like suicide amongst teenagers, I was that statistic where I didn't think anybody really understood me, but I understood myself.
You write in the book about an attempted overdose when you were 14.
Yeah.
So was that in that period of time when you felt like you didn't quite fit in your own family?
It wasn't a case of not fitting in. Because my parents were not they didn't talk about feelings or emotions. It wasn't that we couldn't talk about it, but when it was spoken about, it was never resolved. I didn't get enough guidance in that way. It was like they gave me the foundation to be free and confident as me, but then that was as far as it is.
So your first marriage, what do you think, looking back, it taught you, that particular failure?
I loved being a dancer. I still love being a dancer to this day, but then to just settle for the first person that gives you attention and not really understand that actually the attention that is given you is because he's your backing dancer and he wants your money and wants to get you as pregnant as quick as possible. That didn't factor in. I was still naive and still very, very young.
It's so interesting to me that there you are, a Spice Girl, globally recognised person, incredibly successful, and at the same time that coexists with Melanie Brown from Leeds, wanting to settle down like her mates have.
Yeah, you still want to be part of the pack. And as well, we were in a whirlwind. We were travelling the world. I'd barely even been on a plane, let alone visited America. And sitting in a posh hotel, and I was doing it with my 4 friends, and we got a number 1 in 37 different countries all at once, our first number 1. So it was like, whoa! But then it seemed like a whirlwind, but then the eye of the storm was really calm, but then you'd go back to Leeds, and then my friends would be saying, oh, you think you're posh, do you? Because my accent had gone down a bit, which I don't think it has actually. And then I'd want to get my Morrison's bag to prove I'm still a northerner and carry that around London. That didn't go down well, but I was still finding myself. There's still a lot of things that I wanted to see and learn. And little did I know, boy, would I learn a lot.
I'm also divorced, so I had a failed first marriage. And when that marriage imploded, I think it made me realise for the first time, like how much what I thought I had wanted wasn't actually me. It was what society told my family. Yeah. And it took me a really long time to understand myself. And I think that's often the case for women.
Yeah.
And it's taken me like another 20 years to find out who I am.
Yeah.
So,
but that's a beautiful thing, because then I think, when you're in your 40s, you can go, oh, I've lived a life, but oh my God, I really know myself now.
Yes.
And I've been so hard on myself and I've put myself through this. I actually really like myself. and I really like my company. But now I really appreciate what I've learned, good, bad, and indifferent. And even if it has felt horrendously bad at the time, which it did for 10 years, I'm using that in so much of a positive way.
Yes, it's your purpose.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than being in alignment with your purpose.
Oh, because for so long I wasn't. I was shouting girl power and was completely girl powerless.
So that was your first marriage.
Yeah.
And in the book, you also say that you went for emotionally unavailable men.
Yeah. Because my dad was unemotionally available. And I know it's quite... I mean, we do blame a lot on our parents, but I'm really thinking, well, we shouldn't, because at some point we have to take responsibility for ourselves.
I agree.
But they are the example, you know, and I didn't really see my mum and dad hug or do date night or be emotional or that much. It was like, just get on with it.
For a really long time, I thought emotional unavailability was passion. Like, will they, won't they? Will they be there or won't they? But they're saying this thing, but they're acting differently. Ooh, how interesting.
Yeah.
And now I'm lucky enough to be married again. And with Justin, I understand that safety is the most romantic thing of all.
100%. And I think that's what I was always searching for and thinking, oh, they are going to give it to me, or they will change if I just give a bit more of this or do that. Oh, it's all just bollocks, isn't it?
It is.
If somebody doesn't make you feel safe, that's one of the red flags, or you get that feeling in your tummy where you're a little bit scared of them.
Yes.
Not in a good way. Leave.
Totally. I actually had this conversation once with a friend, and she said, when you get to the point where you're thinking of recording an argument on your voice memo app, that's a red flag.
Or taking a picture of something just to know that it did happen.
Yes. And I know that you know that more than most. And I want to preface this whole conversation around your third failure by saying how sorry I am you went through that, and how grateful I am for your honesty and your courage in talking about it.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
It's incredible what you do. And your third failure is your second marriage and being in this abusive, coercive relationship.
Yeah.
So you've spoken a bit about how you got into it and what happened. And it was off the back of this very intense love affair with Eddie Murphy, and then feeling a bit like he'd said something that he didn't mean in the heat of the moment. And it was almost like you wanted to prove that you were lovable. Is that right?
Yeah. I wanted to... He'd said something wrong. I wanted him to make sure he was going to say it right, because I don't believe that you can just like fluff over that. If you've publicly embarrassed me and you're sorry, well, then you have to now go rectify it.
So he had been caught on the hop by a reporter, a TV reporter. You had, sorry,
I'd left him.
I sound like such a stalker, but it's just because I love your book so much that I know every detail. So basically, you had flown to Leeds because you are very independent, and Eddie wanted you to move in together, and you were like, actually, just need some time to think. And he thought you'd abandoned him, you left him.
Yeah.
And in that time, even though you hadn't, you flew back a few days later.
Yeah, and he called my mum, of all people.
And in that time, a TV reporter said, oh, Melanie's pregnant. And he said something like, well, she'll have to prove paternity.
Yeah.
Which he didn't mean, because he knew that he was the dad.
Well, I always say, well, if you didn't mean it, then you're going to have to mean it in another way, in a nicer way, which I then made him get a DNA test, which he said he didn't want to do because he knows it was mine and ours, it's something other. So I said, well, you're going to have to, because I'm already pregnant and I'm going through supermarket shopping and people are looking at me sideways. I said, I didn't bring this on, you did. Because we had a very private relationship and it was beautiful. But then that happened, and then it turned it sour for a little bit. But then it kind of made itself up, but I wasn't going to go back to that.
So into that mix arrives this person.
Well, I think that this person had hunted me down. Like I always say, you don't wake up and say, oh, I really want to find an abuser as my boyfriend. They find you, and they're very smart, and they find you at the right time, and they say the right things, and they do the right things, and you are swept off your feet, and before you know it, you're married, and you haven't spoken to your mum in a while, and you don't know where your credit card is, and but you're at work because you're the only person that's earning the money.
That process that you describe was very gradual, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they don't like outwardly abuse you, obviously, in the first couple of days, months, weeks. But what they do is they emotionally mold you. So it'll be like, oh, your friend's got a nice dress on. I love that colour. I bet that colour will look really good on you. So then he buys you a dress in that colour. You think, oh, that's really nice. And then another dress, and then another suggestion, why don't you wear that? And then a little bit down the line, it's like, oh, I've put your clothes out for you to wear, and you think, oh, that's kind. Actually, they're really just completely controlling you. And then you're in this thing of, oh, well, I know he likes that, but you know it doesn't feel right. Like if somebody genuinely was saying, this looks great on you, wow, but it's always done with an abuse tone. That's how you know it's abuse, because he's already pointed out some other girls, so now you feel insecure. And if you didn't before, you do over time. So then it starts trapping you on every single level, and it's not overnight. It's really gradual and really subtle. And that's why when Louise, who wrote the book with me, she put the 15 signs of abuse in the back of my book. And before I even knew what that was, she went, have a read of that. And by this point, I was like, I don't want to talk about abuse anymore, because it's so draining. And I didn't know how abused I had been, for a start. So I look at these 15 signs and I go, well, yeah, that's the timeline of my marriage, obviously. And she was like, no, this is the signs from Women's Aid that you know if you're being abused. And I was like, I tick every single one of them. And I've asked you to come out and write this book. I knew it was going to be a little bit dark, and I didn't know it was going to be that honest, and that, because I didn't know how much I'd been abused. And Louise actually ended up doing a bunch of research on domestic violence, doing a bunch of research on abuse. She then had to go and interview 15 of my friends, work friends, whether it be from Simon Cowell's assistant or accountant, to actually piece my life back together. And then Louise would say to me, so and so said this about you because they saw that. I'd go, no, they didn't. And then I'd go, yeah, that happened. And actually it happened like that, but there was a bit more of even worseness on top of it. So by the time the book started to really form a shape, I was like, I have been really badly abused on every single level. And if that can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. It can happen to my kids. We need to do something about this. And she was like, yeah, that's why you told me to write the book. And then it was like, well, I don't know if I want that book to come out.
Yeah.
And then Phoenix had wrote her chapter, and I didn't realize what she had seen, being in the same house, what she'd heard and what she'd seen. I was in shock, because basically she'd witnessed me being raped, and she put it in her own words. She wasn't lying. It's my daughter. And then my hairdresser at the time wrote his own chapter, which is still my hairdresser in America. And I was like, this is all a real story. But he gave me the strength to leave him. Do I really want to put it all out there like that? And between Louise and my daughter, they were like, well, you've got to, because you could be helping other people. I was like, well, that is going to give me the strength, because I'm all about helping other people, because I don't want anyone to go through this, ever.
I mean, you are the embodiment of girl power in that respect, because power isn't about not being vulnerable. Power is about having the bravery to share your vulnerability, knowing that that truth will reach someone in a desperate situation and make them feel stronger.
Yeah.
That's power.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done. And I'm so grateful and proud of you for doing it.
Thank you. Well, I think if I would have had a book like that sitting on my table during that 10-year marriage, I would have took that book and ran for the fucking hills, because at least somebody is describing what I'm going through.
When you say that you didn't recognize some of it at first, or that you'd blocked it out,
Yeah.
is that a kind of mental trapdoor of protection, or was there something else going on there as well that made it difficult to connect to?
I think it's a lot of things. I think you disassociate yourself, and a lot of rape victims say that, and that happened to me in my marriage too. But I didn't want to really admit that, because if I really admit that, then who am I? What have I done? It's my fault. And no one's going to believe me, but that's the mindset that you have. My fault, and no one's going to believe me. So I don't really want to admit that, because I can't really admit that to myself, because that's shocking. But when so many other people around you have seen stuff and they're shouting about it, finally, because they know that I've divorced that monster, then I can't deny that, because I don't want anybody else to feel like that.
Yeah. How do you deal now with the fact that your youngest daughter has a relationship with her dad, who is this person who did all of these things to you that you have spoken really honestly about? How does that?
Well, I think when she's with me, I get to spend amazing time with her. And this is why I'm redoing the court system, because it's very easy for an abuser to say, well, she's crazy, I should have the kid. And the judge goes, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to believe you. What? Why would you ever tear a daughter away from the mother just because I've dropped the domestic violence charge because I've only got X amount of years to do it in America? I'm not strong enough to do that right now. I'm strong enough to do it now. That'll be part 4 of my book. We'll see about that. So you're exhausted. So the fight that you have in you is the honest one to go, my daughter shouldn't be there. But you're fighting a whole court system. You're fighting an unsupported court system. And I'm fighting it in America, not even here. So I just have to pray a lot. And I have to think, as long as when my daughter's with me, she understands unconditional love and she understands the right from wrong. And we say a prayer before dinner and she has manners and she has respect and she knows what a healthy relationship looks like because she sees me and Rory.
And do you not talk about her dad with her?
No, I think,
how do you
I'm very
navigate it?
open. I won't bring his name up, but if she would say, oh, daddy did this, I go, oh, that's nice. And in fact, I'm dealing with it right now because he's emailing about this and that. So they still really don't ever leave.
God, it must be so hard.
But you can distance yourself and know, right, you're not going to make me think I'm going mad again. I know what a healthy relationship looks like, thankfully. And even if I didn't have that great healthy relationship, because I'm away from his immediate abuse, I can have time to breathe and I've got my family and I've got my friends around me.
And you've told the truth.
If it wasn't the truth, he could have sued me 6 ways to Sunday, and he hasn't.
Did the Spice Girls reach out to you during this time? Like, yeah.
I think I did put it in the book. There was one point I was crying, I think it was in the shower or the bath, and Jerry came to give me a hug and we just got into a terrible fight. But I made sure that all the doors were closed because we had connecting hotel rooms when we were on tour back then. And even if I had the know-how to say to her, I've just been beaten up or whatever, or violently cursed at in my face, I don't think I would have had the strength to tell her. But they knew something was wrong, but they didn't know because, don't forget, he was very much in control of me then. So even if they would have said something, how would I have reacted? I would have protected him all day long. Hence, every single tweet and Instagram was, oh, my husband, I love him so much, look what he's done. It was a complete lie. And that's why when I sat back on the desk, having done 7 years of America's Got Talent, I sat back on the desk last year in November and Simon was like, God, you are so happy. I was like, I know, because I'm not living a lie anymore. I know exactly what I'm going home to. Now it's not my mum's house. Now it's my new house, finally. And I'm free of that constant day in, day out. Now it's done in a different way, but I'm not going home to the, am I going to live through this night?
Everyone who loves you must have been so relieved when you left.
Yeah. And then it's almost a thing of, well, why didn't you tell me? They're like, well, you wouldn't have listened. Try a little bit. And like, I was very angry at my mother for the longest time because I felt like she knew I was being abused, or as a mum, she should have known. And why didn't she come and get me? But yet, don't forget, when you're part of abuse, so is your family, because they're being abused by that person also, and so are your friends. So it's not just you that ends up being abused, it's everybody around you that ends up being abused, and then they end up being isolated from you. Just as much as you're isolated from them, they are isolated from you. It's impossible for them to come to your rescue.
Your book, Brutally Honest, opens with a scene that I think so many of us will remember, because I know I watched it at the time, of you appearing on X Factor.
Oh, yeah.
After you had gone through another cycle of abuse and you had overdosed and you got yourself out of that hospital, you discharged yourself against the advice of doctors, and you put makeup on the bruises and you and you appeared on stage, and it was a very arresting image, and you did it with power and intent behind it because you weren't wearing your wedding ring.
And I made sure I went like that.
Yes, but I still remember that. And way before I knew that I was going to be lucky enough to interview you, years and years ago, before this podcast even started, I still remember that image, and I find it really upsetting and also really meaningful. And I wonder whether you have ever watched it back.
No, I've seen pictures of it because I'd left him at that point, and that was a fuck you, I really have left you because I've got no ring on and I've taken the drips out of my arm and you're not stopping me from working because my work is my safe place. And then shortly after that, I went back. So that is a very like twisted, like, ugh, because I was so close to leaving yet again. So close. And yet I went back because my kids, and he was already making out as though I was absolutely crazy. And I believed him that the story that he was going to roll out on me was going to ruin my career. So I wanted to save my kids, save my work. And I went back and I dealt with it for another few more years. But that was the first time because I'd been out of ear range and I wasn't answering my phone because I was in hospital. I made sure that I had a police guy and security guy at my door because I thought he's going to come into the hospital and he's going to kill me. Which is crazy when you think about it because it's a hospital and you've got security and they know why you're there. And Randy was the one that took me to the hospital because I passed out in the car because he anyway. And I just thought, yeah, nobody's going to stop me from working and nobody is going to tell me where I have to be. I don't want to be with you. And I'm going to make sure my wedding ring's off. And I'm going to make sure, because I knew when the doors open, they would always do a close up shot. And I would usually do like a woo. And I was like that, fuck you, in my brain, but terrified and very weak because I just pulled all stuff from me and I was still bruised and one of my ribs was brought. It was a lot. And I thought, no, I'm good. I can remember sitting there and Cheryl was going to me, are you okay? You've gone drip white, because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't really talk, but I was like, no one's going to stop me. And then I think I collapsed after that and went back into the hospital and then went back to him.
It took you another few years, but you made it out in the end.
Yeah. I hate using the word luck because I don't really believe lucky. I'm lucky to look at this. No, I don't know if it was my dad or the universe strength, but I got out. And not many people get out. Or they get out and they're still so badly scarred that they can't even move on or breathe. That's why it's so imperative we have support. It's so imperative that we understand and we can have empathy and help, because it's an epidemic. You know, we all know somebody. If you haven't gone through it yourself, you definitely know somebody that's gone through it or that's going through it. So if the statistics are that bad and that terrible and they're not going to get any better unless we do something about it, we have to stand up and do something about it.
I've got two final questions. One is, you have been so beautifully honest about your failures. What do you think your failures have taught you?
Oh my God. Where do you begin? It's taught me, number one, just to really rely on that gut instinct. If something doesn't feel quite right, don't override it with it's gonna be okay. Because that gut instinct is there for a reason. Because I do always believe that you are going to be okay, but my are going to be okay was riddled with the And every time that I've not been okay, it's because I haven't listened to that. It's never let me down. It's always been there. I've just chosen to ignore it and hope for the best.
My final question, Melanie Brown, Scary Spice, living legend, is about your dad.
Yeah.
I know that he is still such a strong presence with you. And a very moving moment in the book comes when he writes you a letter in 1995, just before the Spice Girls become huge.
Yeah.
And it's about the power of making mistakes if you learn from them.
And never forget where you come from. You used to always say that to me. I go, I know where I come from. I'm from Leeds.
Well, actually, I wanted to ask what you think he would say to you now, right now, if he were here at this table, having listened to this conversation. And
I think he'd be really overwhelmed with emotions. He would, because I haven't stopped. Oh, God. Because I haven't stopped and I've always just carried on. Like, I think he would just be... He'd be really mad. Like, I told you not to mind that person, but I think he'd be really happy.
Yeah. Do you think he'd be proud of you?
God, I've never cried. I haven't cried in a long time.
Sorry, I'm
bugger.
I'm sorry. I have this effect.
I think he'd be happy. And I did go to his grave when I got properly out of that. And I did go to his grave. When did I go to his grave last? Also by myself. Oh, yeah, to tell him a big secret, but I can't tell you that one. But yeah, I think he'd be a bit mad, but he'd be really happy. And he'd be so happy about Rory because Rory was his favourite.
Did he? So he knew Rory, presumably, because of
Yes!
the... Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful that he got to meet Rory.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful thing. You were a very pretty crier.
I'm not.
You should do it more
I'm
often.
not.
You are.
I'm not. I'm going to look back on this and go, oh, fuck. But hey ho, it's me.
It's you
Yeah.
showing up as yourself, which is all that anyone can ever ask.
Can't believe you made me cry. No, it's
I'm
good to
sorry.
cry. I
It's so
say this to
good.
Rory all the time because I haven't seen Rory cry in a while, and I go, but it's good to cry. And now he's going to be saying that to me when I get out of here.
I cry all the time. I'm very pro.
No, I do. I'm a crier, but
Yeah.
a secret crier.
Oh, bless you.
These days.
But that for me is such a beautiful thing. Like, thank you for trusting me with your
Oh no,
story.
I do. I would have walked out a long time ago because now I'm very much. I live by if something doesn't feel right, I'm gone.
Me too. Thank you.
And I try and be nice, but I would have gone. Now I feel very comfortable and very trusting with you.
I've loved talking to you. Thank you for everything that you do.
Now you owe me a massive vodka.
100%. I also love that you drink vodka. Me too. Please do follow How to Fail to get new episodes as they land on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please tell all your friends. This is an Elizabeth Day and Sony Music Entertainment original podcast. Thank you so much for listening.